Oh, so much.
I haven't seen it. Who did you send it to? When was that? When? Oh, that was two. Yeah.
So anyway, I just thought I would let you know, and if you want to do it, but that's what we're doing.
No.
It's been forwarded, so. Hey, buddy. Depositions went long.
That dude.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
He asked, he could not answer questions. And he's just the way he was phrasing.
They may well be.
Your Brad put the question.
I just- there's a couple of-
So much of the questions too. Then auditory is really responsive. What is this thing? What is this?
I guess just the first one. I don't know.
Okay.
I think
That's a
Scary
number.
man. Remember his okay.
oh man. Oh, I do. The instructions you gave me, I do.
You're not needed for this.
Okay.
Still
I
be
might have to go,
daylight.
I might have to go lock up. I was like, y'all just, I'll come back. Yeah. I'll come back and lock up.
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, you could. Maybe.
What I'm thinking.
Maybe.
It's in the Marie's.
Tell Jerry if he wants to read it again.
Yeah. I was gonna say, when we go, so I'll just say at the end of the special use, I'll just say, now we're rolling into number two, public hearing two. Gotcha. As far as discussion. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. Just forgot to turn my mic on. Welcome. I'd like to welcome everybody here. Thanks for coming. I'm calling to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the Kill Devil Hills Board of Commissioners. Welcome. Come on in. If you would, please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For those not familiar, we also start each of our meetings with a short moment of silence. I would ask you to keep the families of everyone involved in the terrible crash recently on Hatteras Island in your thoughts and prayers. If you would, please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you so much. Again, great to see everyone in the audience. It's that time of year. We've got lots on the agenda, so we will get right to it. First, we were looking at our agenda. Any thoughts about the agenda before we get going?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please indicate, say yes, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. tripping on my tongue this afternoon. First item on the agenda is a public hearing for our special use site plan, and our attorney, Mr. Barnell, will get us started.
Perfect. So this first public hearing will now come to order. The town clerk is going to be taking a roll call right now of all of the members present.
Commissioner Windley,
Here.
Commissioner Ingram,
Here.
Mayor Sproul,
Here.
Commissioner McAvoy,
Here.
Commissioner Gray,
Here.
Mr. Attorney, all are present and constituted quorum.
Thank you, clerk. So public hearing item number 1A is a site plan review, 207 West Martin Street, proposed cluster home development in the low density residential zone, including 10 3-bedroom and 11 2-bedroom long-term residential units. I'll give a quick overview of this process, guys. We are in quasi-judicial mode. So we've got evidence, things of that nature that may or may not be presented, but we are in a quasi-judicial proceeding. And the reason for that is because this is a special use. And according to North Carolina statute and our code, all special use permits must come through the quasi-judicial process. So the applicant's going to lead off and present his or her case. The applicant's witnesses, if any, are going to be subject to questioning by the board and the town if we have any questions. Town will then present any evidence it might have. Same, town's witnesses, whoever they may be, are subject to questioning by the board and the applicant. Other parties at that point shall then present their evidence and are also subject to questioning by the board. The applicant, as to anyone who speaks, is going to be allowed a short time for rebuttal to this evidence. I would note clearly there may be third parties here speaking, so non-town affiliated, non-applicant, and opinions can be given, things of that nature. It's up to you, the weight and credibility you give to any evidence, not just of third parties, but also of the applicant in and of itself. For example, property values. If someone testifies, because that's what's happening right here, if somebody testifies as to a decrease in property value, for example, there would need to be substantive evidence to support that, appraisals, things of that nature. So again, I don't want to get too far in the weeds because I know you want to let people speak, but just pointing out to you that this is a more formalistic procedure. And in any event, once all evidence is presented, the hearing will be closed and you guys will then begin your deliberations. For everyone's information, there are 4 standards required by North Carolina law that must be considered, weighed, and you have to make findings as to these particular standards before you vote yay or nay on the proposal. The standards are that the proposed use does not materially endanger the public health or safety. The proposed use meets all required conditions and specifications of the town's ordinance. The proposed use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining property, or in some cases, the proposed use is a public necessity. And the proposed use will be in harmony in the area in which it is located and otherwise be in general conformity with the local government's comprehensive plan. As far as testimony, would like to point out to everyone that anyone who's offering testimony is going to be sworn in by the clerk, because again, this is under oath. And town clerk is going to take care of that when you stand up. So when you're called to the podium, do please state your name and address for the record. That'd be great. And at this point, I'll ask if the applicant has a statement to make.
Casey, can I go ahead and get the applicant and also anyone testifying for the town, just go ahead and swear them both in.
Okay. For convenience purposes, Cameron, are you speaking for the town tonight?
Yes.
If you would just be sworn in as well. And we'll get to any other third parties.
Do you swear testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
My name is Eddie Goodrich, and I'm the applicant tonight. I I see there's a lot of people here, and I'd just like for them to realize that things that are happening elsewhere in the county or elsewhere in the town of Kill Hills have nothing to do with what we plan to do. What we plan to do is to build long-term affordable housing and for the people that live and work in Kill Hills. What may happen somewhere else in Dare County is irrelevant compared to what we plan to do. We plan to build 21 houses on approximately 2 acres. It's a cluster development. Some people call it cottage courts. There's about 4,000 square foot per house. The houses are less than 1,500 square foot of heated area. There's access on Martin Street, but also in this particular location, you can leave and go back through down Martin Street. You can access the schools, all the playgrounds, the high school, middle school, elementary school, all the football field, all the soccer fields, all the baseball fields and everything, and never even have to get on the bypass. I understand that there's just the word cluster housing seems to be something that people oppose. It's not bad. It'll have a private driveway, and only the people that live there will be there. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
And it would be appropriate at this time if you guys have questions for the applicant to ask.
One question.
Yes, sir.
One observation with kind of cluster homes is concern has come up is how much space do you have between houses? When I looked at the plans, it seemed to be in pairs. You have kind of 2 together, parking, and another one. Can you just give us a ballpark of how much space is between the homes?
The ordinance calls for a minimum of 10 feet, but it's more like 14. And then when you have 2 parking spaces, it's more like 20 feet.
Yeah, they're 28 and 12.
28 is what?
28 and 12. Like,
I measured.
well, it's more than adequate. And we have additional parking, which we thought was necessary.
Are you?
I'm good. That was my first question.
It's not in your site plan, but you just mentioned, so I thought I would ask. You just mentioned affordability. We know that it's long-term, but you also mentioned affordability. Can you give us
a
Yeah,
because
I
nobody in
I
that
think it
county
would-
seems to know what affordable
Right.
is.
right.
And
I
I'm not
agree.
sure that I know. I know we brought in Randy Saunders as a partner to build, and his reputation is very good. And we can build and sell houses as cheap as anybody, and that's what we intend to do. We don't see this as a big money maker, and that's not what we're trying to do. We're not doing it for free.
Right.
Nobody gave us $35 million. So, but we're doing our part, and we're doing it in a good location. I think it'll be an improvement to the community and an improvement to the neighborhood, for that matter. It'll have central sewage. You won't have to worry about septic tanks. It's actually butts up to a commercial zone with Walgreens, Starbucks, and AutoZone. So it's not in the middle of a residential neighborhood. It's adjacent to it.
Fellas?
No questions.
No questions.
You good?
Yeah, I think probably, it's interesting. We come into this maybe with an assumption that there's opposition, but I'd like to remind folks that we have been trying very hard to find ways to incentivize year-round housing, and it's been a challenge for the county for decades, and really come to a fever pitch in the last 3 or 4 years. This opportunity to build in this style is intentional. It's our goal as a board to find ways to create an incentive to have a deed restriction like this. These houses are deed restricted to never be used for short-term rentals. And to my mind, and I've said this in many other meetings, but I'll always take another opportunity to do so, that it's the ratio of short-term to long-term that is really our housing challenge. Affordability is secondary to that. There are just not enough year-round residences to live in for all of the employees that our businesses need. to run the beautiful place that we have. So, and I mentioned in an email to a constituent recently, we're talking about the sort of incentives of the market. The market is the fact that everyone's land has gotten to be so expensive. Land underneath your house, my house, over $100,000. 20 years ago that was 10,000. Because that land is so expensive, it really incentivizes property owners to build to the maximum. So you see a lot of houses being built these days that are 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom, come on the market for $650,000. Really out of the reach for a lot of people. And a lot of times they end up being vacation homes or something else. This is an opportunity for 22 homes to be built that will be of modest size, which is the kind of thing that is in reach for young professionals and folks that are buying their first home or looking for a place to live so that they can work at the hospital or for the police department or whoever. So we had hoped that something like this would come along, and Eddie is got a good looking plan here that has some nice aesthetics, which are not our business, but nice to see anyway. And I think it's been mentioned in the media a bunch. There have been a lot of studies about what our need for year-round housing is, what our need for workforce housing, whatever you want to call it. And the studies say that we're 2,000 units short. It'd be great to take those out of a rental program and put them into year-round housing, but how do you do that? This is one thing that we've done that has incentivized this to happen. So it'll be the first modest-sized houses to be built in a while, certainly in this number. And I'm, for one, glad to see it happening.
These houses will be around 1,200 square foot, 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath, and 1,400 square foot, 3 bedrooms, 3 baths. And they will be deed restricted to where they cannot be short-term rentals, which has caused the problem that we're in today.
Right. It's a first step. We'd like to see a lot more go in that direction. Anything we can do to incentivize year-round housing, we want to do.
While I have you up here, I was going to ask this of Cameron, but I'll ask you as well. And I actually have two things. So for clarification, this is 7 lots. So 7 regular lots. Cameron and I talked about this the other day and did the math. 7 lots at potentially 5-6 bedroom houses, which
Or
they
more.
could easily be or
Easily.
more, is not that different than what we're seeing. And so to me, that, that kind of, that
You
spoke
could
to
build
me.
an 8-bedroom house
Um,
on one of those lots.
Right. It's a 150-foot lot. And then also, one of my biggest concerns with this, I live back there, in case you guys don't know, I live back there. I see it. I see the traffic. I see the coming and goings. I see it. So I had a lot of concerns about this. I did a lot of measuring, I went out and walked it. And so one of my big concerns is we're going to need a sidewalk in that area if this comes to fruition. Is that something that maybe you or the developer would
You're
consider,
gonna need
is
what?
do a sidewalk? Like just on that portion by where you're maybe connect to the other side. I don't know if that's just
I'll have
something to
see what
maybe,
you're talking about first.
Yeah. because there's a lot of pedestrians back there. And if not, then I will be certainly requesting from planning in our streets that we consider moving Martin up in our putting in a sidewalk, because I think that's going to be
It's a good idea.
an absolute for that area.
That's
For
a good
sure.
idea.
So that's my,
Anything else from question wise?
More chance?
All right, none for me.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
And Cameron, you could choose to make a comment. You could adopt the package as the memo is presented. They may have questions for you, but
Good evening. Cameron Ray, Assistant Planning Director, Town of Kildover Hills. On behalf of the town this evening, I would like to include in the testimony that the submittal for the site plan review at 207 West Martin Street for the special use for a proposed cluster home development in the low-density residential zone, including 10 three-bedroom and 11 two-bedroom long-term residential units, meets the town's zoning requirements as submitted. You will see in your packet outlined for some tech review comments that were gone through from the original submittals to get us to this point. But before coming to you tonight, the applicant did meet all the requirements of our zoning requirements. I'd be happy to answer any questions about those or any questions about the packet.
Ivy, you got your question answered?
Yeah, I went in and met with Cameron yesterday.
And
So.
to hit on the pedestrian plan, we do have some, pedestrian plan sidewalks on the west side in that area. So we
Right.
certainly can review that, as that's a necessity and something important. So
And then we also talked about DOT. I think at some point, we'll, again, if it comes to fruition, I think DOT will.
Yep.
We'll have to.
for making sure that
Some
light can
traffic.
accommodate the traffic that's
Right.
going to be there. Sure.
Right. Exactly.
Anything else, question-wise from board?
Yeah. Confer that I couldn't remember if you had mentioned that planning board recommended it with a unanimous vote. Yeah.
They did. There was they had a couple of conditions for a couple of minor comments that still need to be addressed, but they did recommend approval of the plan as presented with a couple of revisions that had been addressed.
So Cameron, those revisions have been
They
addressed,
have.
just for the record?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I really enjoyed having that in the packet. Every single one was noted as what was done by the engineer. Yeah.
All right. Well, nothing else.
Sure.
Thank you, Cameron. All right, I'm going to split the, what I'll call the next folks testifying. I'm going to split into two categories. The first would be any adjoining property owners. So there's nobody signed up, but if there's any adjoining property owners that would like to speak, go ahead now.
See, I knew that they're all here for the budget, not for the.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please. And
And adjoining property owners would have, just in case anybody's thinking, do I qualify? They would have been ones that would have received actual letters from the town concerning this hearing. There will be a time for everyone to speak, but we're trying to limit it right now just to the adjoining property owners. So if you received a letter concerning this hearing from the town, now is the time to speak.
The 3 or 4 houses that are right next to that property are the only ones that got letters.
no, there were.
There is a list in the packet for all the adjacent property owners that were notified, and it's anyone who is directly adjacent to the property, regardless if it's separated by a right of way. So it was
But
There's like 4 houses.
It would include those four.
There's-
houses.
yes, there's quite a bit more than that on the other side of boundary and also the other side of each right of way. So it was quite a few.
Blue Jay, yeah.
Are you, yes, ma'am?
Yeah.
Yeah. And anyone that's not adjacent is going to be able to speak too, so.
Hi. My name is Ashley Pack. I live at 206 West Atlantic. The spelling is ASH LEIGH Pack PACK. You're welcome. Hi. We are new to the area. We had just moved here from the north, but my question is, our backyard extends back past, and then we have like that groove, and I might be incorrect as to like where it's located. But is that there's like a kind of a dip behind Starbucks and then it turns of like water, a trench. Is it going to be all the way backed up to that? Or am I like in the totally?
Yeah, so I can probably pull it up for you, but no. So if you know where Starbucks and Walgreens is, and there is the drainage ditch right behind
Right.
Starbucks that's still
Right.
open. There's actually a stub of Blue Jay Street there.
Okay.
It looks like it's part of Walgreens almost, but it ends before Starbucks.
Okay.
Then you've got another block of properties where there's an overflow parking lot of Walgreens. It's the next block, or it's in that block, but it's the next property next to that. I'll pull it up on
Okay.
the site plan real quick.
farther west.
Farther
Okay, I
west,
see, I
yes.
see. So I'm not immediately. Okay, got it. Okay, then that was it. Thank you.
So if you want to look here real quick, that parking lot where overflow for Walgreens is, if you can see on my cursor here, it's this lot here. Starbucks would be in this vicinity and Walgreens would be here. So you've got the Blue Jay right of way, this parking lot, and then it's this parcel here along Fox Street and Martin Street and Boundary Street to the south. You've probably seen it. The Fox Street is just gravel. It actually is a dead end there, and then Boundary Street is also unimproved. So it's in that wooded area there. That helps. Sure.
Any other adjacent property owners? All right. Well, anyone, and I guess this is crucial, anyone who has opposition is now allowed to come up and make a statement. And again, come right over here to the clerk, please, for swearing in.
Sports allowed too, right?
Hi, my name's Patricia Call, C-U-L-B. I live at 500 West Martin Street. I've been there for about 10 years now, and the traffic is really bad as it is because we have people coming from the school and coming through, and they always cut through our roads. And we have a lot of kids that play on that road. And to add more traffic to it just doesn't seem to me like a good thing. And I mean, I keep hearing how you keep saying that it's low income and it's going to be better, and that's great. But how are you going to prove to us that you're not going to sell them for a cheap price and then sell them to the people that are out of staters? Or how do I know that it's not somebody from Virginia that's going to rent it for the year and be a long-term renter? How can you prove to us that this actually is going to be for the people, benefit the people that live here? Because I've watched through the years with people that rent houses and are charging so much rent that nobody can live there. Friends of mine have had to move to Currituck or further and drive here to work because they can't afford it. Because you say it's a low income, but what do you mean by low income? Is it going to be benefit the people that live here? Is it going to be able to so the people can afford it? I'm sorry, but $1,600 a month for rent is a lot for somebody. I'm a single mom, and I just bought my house years ago, and mine keeps going up. And I have 4 jobs, and I want to know that this is going to benefit the people and not just you guys' pockets. I'm sorry, but that's how I feel. Because we live here, and you're already putting more traffic on our street where all these kids are going to be. And how I know they're not teenagers that are going to run past and not run over one of these little kids that are running down the street. We have a lot of kids on the bikes, walking to school, walking to their friend's house. I walk up and down the street, go to Walgreens, and I said, "There, you got to watch it because people ride up and down the street. There's nothing that says that we're going to obey the speed limit, and now you're adding more traffic." And I just feel that it's hard for the people that live there. I bought my house and I love our development. Everybody's respectful, but now you're going to add 20 some more houses that people we don't even know and know if they are the ones that live here or if they're from Virginia or Maryland and they get a cheap house. Cool. Let's buy a cheap house. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So just start coming up if you want to talk.
Haven't seen me in person.
Just sworn in first.
You swear.
My name's Deborah Conti. Last name is C-O-N-T-E, and Deborah the Long Way, D-E-B-O-R-A-H. I live at 900 Swan Street. And So I heard 2 parking places per house. If for the 3-bedroom, or also 3 for the 2 bedrooms. I'm not sure, but yes, it's. I also visualize from what I've seen a little bit, an awful lot of cement. Right now, all this rain, like where I live, it goes into the ground. If it was full of cement around me, it would just be flooded. It floods at Walmart. Excuse me, not Walmart, Walgreens. I do walk around, and I've been around that so-called drain ditch, which is toxic. I haven't heard anything about, how are you going to do that water, that infrastructure? Where is it draining? Where is it going? Has this, we just take at word that, that we've checked off all the planning things. I really would like to, I don't see the vision of having a lot of cement and no yardage for this water. We have incredible rainfall. You've been down on the 12, you know how it floods. And what happens to that drainage ditch, which is already some kind of toxic ooze as it is. So I have concern about how the design, there could be a way to do density like that, but you have to still maintain the character of, the yard, the living, otherwise just build an apartment house. And then you have a lot of space around it. Where do the people who are coming to visit? Are they going to all park on Martin Street, half on the grass, half in the road? Because of that kind of bizarre thing, you resisting putting in sidewalks. That's all. Thanks.
All right. Next.
Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. I don't like doing this type of thing. Jeremy Owen White. I live at 808 Swan Street. I was born there. I've seen this place since it was dirt roads. We own a property, my family does, directly behind us on 6th. A house and a property, one with nothing built on it. So one of my questions is, do I get to go to that property and build 3 houses, even though it's the same size lot as one of these? If I try to do that, you're going to say no. So, from this point forward, if this goes through, anybody that has 3 or 4 lots together, they're going to try and jam as many in there as they can. Deborah, she's my neighbor, she was talking about it. The impervious is ridiculous. We already flood, you know it. Walgreens, if there's a hurricane, you can't get out. Walgreens doesn't flood, but Martin does. You can't get out that light. You live on Swan, you know how it is. Everybody traffics Swan. It used to be Fox when I was raised because it went from Martin all the way to Collington. Once they opened up Baum, everybody switched to Swan because Ben Hogan and a few other people got together and decided to block off 6th and make sure it wasn't a one-way street. You live on 6th. Would you open up 6th to make it a 2-lane street so that these people will traffic through there instead of Swan Street? Because my kid and dogs can't get near the street. They're running 50 miles an hour down the road. I've asked for a stop sign at Clark to try and help her out so that her kids wouldn't have to worry about it being out in the roads. But it just, the amount of traffic that you're going to try to put through there, they're going to go to Swan Street, maybe Fox Street. The rest of the neighborhood does not bear the brunt of it. I know she was talking about Martin Street needing sidewalks. That's what you're talking about. It'll help for people going to Walgreens, but it's not going to help for the traffic that's rolling through that place. So my big things are the impervious. I think I just don't understand it. I've got another neighbor here that she's had to tear down her deck and she can't build next to me because it's too close to the setbacks. This guy's trying to build 12 feet apart from each other. You know, if it was 7, he'd have to have firewalls. I mean, it's ridiculously close. And personally, from the looks of it, let's get to the affordable thing. Neptune's Treehouse, right there on across from this subdivision or whatever cluster homes, is on the market right now. 526 square feet, $375,000. These are 1,200, 1,400 square foot homes that are going in this area, obviously with full lots at 500,000 plus. That is not affordable. $2,000 rent because 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom places right now are $1,600 for rent. And that's at 900 square feet. At 1,200, I'm just, you know, obviously this is my testimony. I don't know it, but it would be closer to 2,000. So it's just not the affordable thing is laughable. This is, in my opinion, somebody who's got a chunk of land. They want to get as much in it as they can and have it rezoned. If they're able to do it, I don't understand why I wouldn't be able to do it on my property. You know, it's not a fair thing. So that's fine.
Thank you. All right. I think you were going to.
He said it.
Okay. All right. Anyone else?
Yeah.
My name is Christine Wolf. I live at 806 Swan Street, so I'm the neighbor that can't build my fence or my deck next to him. So I have lived here for 26 years, and yes, I have seen Swan Street be a dead-end street go to a through street. I work 2 miles from work. I have 2 exits. I can go out by Walgreens, or I can go out by the 3 Tequilas. Well, guess where I can't go out anymore? Walgreens, because why? Do you know how many people cut through Starbucks in the morning because they can't make a left-hand turn? Almost every single freaking one. You know how many cut through the AutoZone to go through Starbucks to get to Walgreens to turn left? I do it because I can't get to the light. When I go to try to go to work in the morning, school, all those kids coming to school. If I'm trying to get out at 3 o'clock, cannot get out by 3 Tequilas because the traffic is so bad. I can't even make a right-hand turn or a left-hand turn to get off my road to get to work. So now you want to put more buildings there, more traffic. It's just not happening. And everybody knows, again, same thing. I can beat a dead horse. It floods at Walgreens, every single freaking store. So you're looking at a lot more traffic. It's just, you're just making the situation worse. I get affordable housing. I'm all for it, but I agree with everything everybody said. What is affordable? I bought here 26 years ago. Could I move here now? No. And this poor woman, wherever she was, worked 4 jobs. I worked 2 jobs just to live here. And I don't have kids and recently got married. So how does a single person afford to live here? All right. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. Anyone else? Last call, guys. Okay, sure.
My name is Carl Iulicci, Iuliucci. I live at 301 East Fresh Pond, the other side of the road. And I would like to just speak to the bigger picture here. I spent much of my adult life living in the Virgin Islands, which was much like this is now and what it was 17 years ago when I bought my house here. And there was nowhere for people to be employees of companies to work. I owned 5 gift shops there. We had trouble getting employees. So we came up with this grand plan of building. Wasn't really cluster type housing. It was more like townhouses, two attached to each other on lots that would normally there to hold homes that were, similar to here, it's a regular sized property. And let me tell you the story about what happened. I spent 7 years there. I saw those cluster homes be filled with workers that couldn't afford them because they were still out of reach for the average person. You spoke, sir, to those homes being, we need places for professionals to work at the hospital and young professionals and such. But that's not what we need here. Those aren't the people who have problem paying for a house that they could currently buy for $450,000. That's 960 square feet in plenty of places already. You're talking about putting people, when you go into density populations, you end up with one problem that we never expected there, and we got crime. As soon as we had a crime problem, those good, nice workers that couldn't afford those places to begin with left, and other people moved in. And it slowly, over 5 or 6 years, deteriorated into what we called then the projects. Okay? We ended up with the projects. We ended up with crime. We ended up with a situation where it got so bad, a place that I loved, that I moved. Think about what a move like that takes to do, to change your life, to move to a place like that, that I had to walk my wife back and forth to work. I lived on a mountaintop, but I had to drive past the projects. My father-in-law and mother-in-law came to visit me. We drove past the projects. Somebody threw a cobblestone at my car, almost hit my father-in-law. I mean, that's how the place became. And it started out as a grand idea. Wonderful. We even subsidized the people that lived there to a certain degree. And that was pretty much what I'm seeing now. I bought my home. I didn't move here 17 years ago. I moved here 4 years ago. But I bought my first house here 20 years ago, and my second one 17 years ago. And they are exactly the same as they were, because that's how I like them. I loved the Virgin Islands. I left because I had to walk my wife back and forth to work. I couldn't drive to work. I started carrying the gun every day, and I don't want to do it again. And that's really what I need to say. Everyone I spoke to here asked a lot of questions about it, and all the people who said to me, it's affordable housing. I was in my doctor's office the other day, and the woman who was taking my blood pressure said, affordable for who? Not for me. I have to go live in Currituck anyway. And that's the point I'm trying to make, is that what we thought was affordable housing, because it wasn't affordable, deteriorated, fell apart. Oh, it became affordable to criminals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Am I able to ask one question, even though I've already gone?
Is it a question for the applicant, or
I'm not sure who it would be to.
it's up to the board?
Make another statement.
What's that?
So you can make another statement.
You make a statement, right? Yeah. Just
Okay,
taking
well,
testimony.
The statement would be, look at the 14 houses on the beach over at Raleigh, just off of Raleigh, those block houses, how they all look. It's aesthetically not great. The question I had, though, is 31 days rental, long-term rental. So I'm not sure if this would be the town or to you. What about subletting? Is there anything in there that says this person's renting it for the year, but then they get to rent it out to whoever they want anytime they want? Is there any verbiage that makes that?
Cameron knows.
No, there's no language in that. It's all about use. Nobody can use the property because of the deed restriction for less than 31 days at a time.
Yeah, but if I bought one of the places and rented it to somebody for a year, but then they rented it to whoever they wanted.
It's about who's using the property and how long. It cannot be used for short-term rentals.
Okay.
All right, anyone else? All right, the applicant, if they choose, can make a short statement or any form of rebuttal to what's been presented.
I'll try. First of all, is Mr. Pittman here? Mr. Pittman is the man I bought the property from, and recently at the Dare County Commissioners meeting, the gentleman that sold the property came and complained about what the man was doing with the property that he sold. So I'm glad to see Mr. Pittman's not here. In regards to stormwater, we have a stormwater management plan that's approved by the state of North Carolina. I never said anything about low-income housing. In regards to the criminals the gentleman's talking about here, there's some around Dare County already that might live next door and you don't know about it. We'll require everybody to have a credit report and a background check. The reason that you might not be able to do it on your piece of land is because it requires 1 acre of land in order to have a cluster housing or cottage court. If you got an acre, you can.
Well, I know, but from this point forward, anybody that's got 2 or 3 next to each other.
Quite frankly, I agree with you. No, I agree with a lot of what you people are saying, but what I don't agree with is that you think these who lives there is going to be something or someone better or worse or not a neighbor. I don't know why you feel that way. You don't know these people. For every one person here that has concerns, there's 100 families in Dare County that need a small house to live in. So I understand your concerns, but I think, a lot of you people that bought your house 5 years ago or 6 or 7 or 8 years ago that cost $300,000, now it's worth $600,000. So what are you complaining about? People need somewhere to live. Yes, ma'am.
For clarification, is it okay to ask a question
Yeah.
now? For clarification, it's not actually concrete in between. There are, it's it's a pervious surface. I'm not saying it's a yard. I'm just saying that is a fact. It's not concrete,
There's
which is
actually
really
a
important.
20-foot drive aisle, and then the
Which are all
parking spaces will be paving blocks, which are bricks. It'll be quite attractive, quite frankly. And if you want to show the
Well, more
rendering,
importantly,
if you
it'll
will.
be water goes through it
Right.
is the more
Right,
important part.
Right. It might be a good idea to see what the houses will look like. They're similar to this. The roof may change a little bit. I mean, at this point, I'm thinking about painting them white with black trim and a slate colored roof. Maybe all of them the same color, maybe some different colors, but that's not nice. That's a nice looking house. So, and we've got a good builder and we got a good project. We got central sewage. It's basically 4,000 square foot per unit of land, which there are 5,000 square foot lots all over the west side and Kill Hills. The density, I think if you calculate the density, I'll let Cameron, do you have any idea how many lots are in Kill Hill Realty Corp? 500?
I couldn't put a good number on it now.
I think if you add 20, you'll probably be adding 1%. You're not talking about 200 houses. 20 houses in a subdivision the size of Kill Hills Realty Corp, which is, there are hundreds and hundreds of houses in that subdivision. Right.
All right. So all the evidence and testimony has now been presented. So Mayor Sproul, I'll ask you now on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, do you accept the evidence from the applicant, the town, and others, including, of course, the December 12th, 2022 application and supportive materials, meeting materials, plans, maps, and other documentation that's submitted as part of your package? question being again, do you accept this evidence?
We accept this evidence.
So the evidentiary portion of the hearing is now closed, and the Board of Commissioners officially begin deliberations.
Right.
And maybe just as some guidance,
Yeah.
maybe one particular thing to focus on here are these. I think you all have a sheet in front of you, but it was those 4 factors that I listed out. That's your focal point. In years past, the mayors read the questions verbatim and then asked each commissioner what they thought. So just a, I don't know, guiding path, if you will.
Yeah, we don't do this very often. It has been the challenge of our community for years, as I mentioned, to try, to make an effort, to listen to the constituents that say it's our number one problem. Sure, is it perfect? No. Are we able to determine the price? No, we're not. Are we able to tell people they can't do anything on their lot? No, we can't. We can guide and incentivize and disincentivize, but there's a limit. I think there were 80 building permits in Killable Hills last year, something like that. Some commercial. I don't know if is that all new or, but anyway, a number of permits. At the end of the day, it's all private property. It is likely that every empty lot will be built on at some point, and all we're trying to do is influence how does the town look from here. I wrote a couple notes. So we can't determine affordability. We can't tell if somebody's going to be from out of state. But the one thing that no other town has been able to do is incentivize a way that a property owner would willingly deed restrict to year-round only, to having no long-term or no short-term rentals. To me, that's the big accomplishment here. Time will tell whether or not there are negatives that outweigh that. I think that's a pretty big positive. It's interesting that the gentleman in the back mentioned that, if you put a few pieces of property together, this is also an opportunity for somebody out there. Flooding, I was going to mention that we have a big water master plan, and there's a big improvement going in on Wrightsville next year. I think that's part of the same system, yeah. So we've been working for 20 years as a town, long before I was on this board. Smarter people than me have engineered a comprehensive plan to upgrade drainage every year to the tune of many hundreds of thousands of dollars so that we continue to have better drainage, and one by one neighborhoods are seeing less flooding over time. We're doing that without bonds, without borrowing any money. So slowly but surely we're getting the same with the sidewalks. We have a master plan to invest in additional sidewalks, particularly east-west in the west side neighborhoods, as you saw on 3rd Street. I'll open it up to the rest of the board if you wanted to make any comments about things that were said. Otherwise, we can go through these material technicalities. I mentioned earlier that it was by design. We've been looking for ways to do this. There was some feedback somebody gave in that you have to make hard decisions, and this is a hard decision. So we're not making it lightly, and something we've thought about for a long time.
I'll share one thought, and it's already been brought up earlier today. If this project does not go through, what are we going to get? And we have 7 lots. We're going to get 7 max size, maxed out height event homes, because that's what the market calls for. We've worried about traffic. We've worried about noise and convenience. We've worried about crime and safety. And I'm kind of inclined to think that a long-term resident or long-term renter would be maybe a little more respectful of their neighbors and their community than somebody here for a vacation and a party. So that's just what we got to make a choice really of this or potentially that. So that's what I'm weighing.
Can I make one more statement?
I'm sorry, sir. Evan, yeah.
I think I'll say this. Cameron and I did the math yesterday, and the bottom line is if it's developed, it's a residential low, it's zoned as residential low, which means that it's going to get developed. And it's 7 lots as it is. 7 lots at a 6-bedroom house is 35 to 42 cars. Right now, there's 56, 54 cars, something like that.
52 counting.
52,
total
okay.
bedrooms.
Okay.
But they provided 50
With extra, that's right,
Yeah.
because there is extra parking. So I just do that math, and we're not avoiding developing these properties. We're not avoiding traffic. So I just keep going back to that. Is how do we? I don't like. You guys know, if you hear me talk, I'm always cautious about density, and I go back to this with the density, and that's one of the things Cameron and I talked about. Is it concerns me? It concerns me what it'll do to schools. Of course, there's a lot of concerning things, but there are things that we're not avoiding because of the way this property is zoned.
Yeah, get this perception that it's the town that's building something. We're not building anything. We're just trying to guide through policy. And if we leave it to the market, we will get what the market wants. What the market wants is more short-term rentals, more large homes. So this is our attempt to move the needle in the opposite direction a little bit, and make some hard choices. They're not easy choices to make.
Okay. A lot of good points made by everybody that was here, and most of you know that I'm an attorney and in law school. We're taught to think critically, so a lot of you are thinking critically and understanding, and I'm along with you thinking that way. I'm not naive to think that this is not beneficial to the developer, because it's got to be. It's got to be, and they don't have to apologize for it. That's progress. That's what's going to happen. Something is going to happen on this property. We all know that. I'm also not going to sit here and pat myself on the back and think that I'm solving some great problem, because I actually don't think it will possibly. I'm not saying this is going to solve some issue, at least for me. My fellow commissioners may disagree, but this could make a dent. But I could also see all these homes being bought and either held vacant, or just maybe rented year round. But the value will be high. I don't think you have to ever really worry about project. I can't imagine that. But I think the value of these will always remain high, probably too high for any affordable condition, which is so it's not solving any problems. I can see the density issues in Kill Devil Hills. That's why we rejected the building behind the school, behind the football field over there. That's why we rejected it. 4 of us voted against that. So, and we're trying to be conscientious with development. At least this is located close to the bypass. There's some ingress, egress abilities, and it's going to, still going to create traffic situations for sure. We're just so dense as it is, and almost any development is just going to add to our headaches, all of us. So, but we can't stop it. Our job is to do what's legal here. Our job as commissioners, mayor, to make sure all the rules are being followed. Maybe make a difference. Hopefully, make a difference in our long-term housing issue. But I'm skeptical that it will. To be honest, and a lot of you are too. All we can do is hope, and the mayor's correct that at least we're taking a step that no one else has taken in deed restricting. So that's something, right? Like I said, it could be all 21 of these houses are owned by Virginians, and they're all held all year round, and they come when they want, and they're empty year round, or they could be rented out to hardworking people. Maybe more on the professional level, because you're right, it's not going to be affordable for probably the person making 18 an hour, 15 an hour, even on the beach. So I'm, like I said, I'm not here to pat myself on the back. I'm not naive that the developers sees value in this as well, because these homes are going to go for a lot in my book. But that being said, we don't know, and something is going to go there. Something is going to go there, that we know. And we cannot restrict that which is within zoning. If they meet the code, then our job is not to, do that. And that's, if we do, that's how we get sued as a town. So we have all these requirements, and that's, emotion has to come out of it to some extent. So that's my position.
I like the deed restriction. I think that's something that's not been done, as you said. And I think that's something that we can kind of raise the flag on a little bit. I know I sit here and I listen at the hospital talking about not being able to get healthcare workers down here because there's not places to live. I think this offers that. Is the developer going to make money? Probably. I bet you every dime he's going to make money. But that's what he's in the business for. But I think this serves a need for the community, and in a small way, if every area has something like this, we can address a bigger problem. So I think it's a good thing. I really do. And one of the questions that I heard a gentleman talking about, could he do this with his property? If he meets the requirements, then he can certainly make an application, and it would go through the process, to try. So I don't see anything that's out of the norm with it. And will it work? I don't know. Hopefully it will.
Right. You made a good point. We're trying something, and it's not without peril to try something new. But I commend all of you for getting us this far. We kicked around a lot of ideas over the years, and we've made a lot of changes that have improved what we're getting in development. Seeing fire suppression in homes that we didn't see before. We're seeing all sorts of improvements. Again, only time will tell whether we're making the right call, but I commend everybody for giving this a shot.
Mayor, yes, for the
puts
record,
us-
if you would please go down these
We're
list of
gonna-
questions. Your required findings are pretty simple. Yay or nay?
Yea or nay on these 4 items about this for the public hearing purposes. The proposed use does not materially endanger the public health or safety or overburden the town's firefighting capabilities or municipal water supply capacity. It does not material endanger. I think that's in the affirmative, that it does not.
Well, and you guys are going to do the same. So it's not by consensus if you'd each individually give your yay or nay.
Yay. Yay.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay. All right. The next one is the proposed use meets all required conditions and specifications of the town's ordinance. Yay.
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 The proposed use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining property, or in some cases, the proposed use is a public necessity. Yay.
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 The proposed use will be in harmony with the area in which it is located and otherwise be in general conformity with the local government's comprehensive plan. Yay.
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 And may I just ask, and you got, Mayor, you can speak on behalf of the board. As far as deliberations concerning these items, are you guys adopting your deliberations had just prior to going down this list? Is it fair to say that you guys are adopting that as your deliberations on these items?
That's the
Yes.
consensus, yeah?
Yes.
Yes. I made my point.
Okay, good. No problem there. Just wanted to clear it up.
All right. That I close the hearing? Is that the next step, or did we miss a step here?
You entertain a motion on the application.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jumped in.
So this was the first step. You had to find yay for all of these, and now you'll go to motion.
You would simply, Mayor, if I may, entertain a motion to approve or disapprove the applicant, obviously based on the questions that were just answered. I'm
Right.
assuming that would be a motion to approve.
Right, sorry. Got a little tort up in my plan there. There we go. All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the site plan review for 207 West Martin Street, proposed cluster home development in the low-density residential zone, including 10 three-bedroom and 11 two-bedroom long-term residential units as presented with the testimony herein. Motion on the floor.
Required a second.
Second the motion.
All right.
And now, actually, in this particular case, we're going to have the town clerk conduct a roll call of your guys' votes.
Commissioner Winley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ingram,
Yes.
Mayor Sproul,
Yes.
Commissioner McAvoy,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
So with that unanimous vote, I'll just read this. As a result of the Board of Commissioners' findings of facts, the site plan review 207 West Martin Street proposed cluster home development in low-density residential zone, including 10 three-bedroom and 11 two-bedroom long-term residential units, is granted based on the unanimous votes and findings of fact by council. I would please remind each of you guys, if you don't mind, the forms that you have in front of you, if you would simply check yay or nay, sign your name or write your name on it, and do please give to the town clerk before you leave.
All right, with that concluded, I guess we are
We're
moving
moving to the second.
on to the second public hearing, which is a zoning amendment request.
And this, and yes, Mayor, and this is not a quasi judicial proceeding. So we're back in normal land, normal territory, if you will. I'll read just again the rules of procedure for this particular hearing. Notice of the hearings have been published in the newspaper and posted on town bulletin boards, which meets or exceeds statutory requirements for the subject matter. Copy of the notice of these hearings was also filed with the town clerk for entry into the official record. The town clerk is going to be recording all comments in a concise and brief manner. Submitted written statements will be recorded in a similar manner and made a part of the record of the hearing. They also, of course, must be submitted in full to the town clerk. If anyone's speaking at these hearings, please come to the microphone so that your statement will be recorded. There will be, however, this won't be under oath. This won't be testimonial evidence or anything. Again, we're back in normal land. If speaking, do limit your comments to matters relevant to the issue and to a 3-minute period of time unless you're speaking for a group or you submitted your statement in writing. In that case, you would get 5 minutes. So the second public hearing is now coming to order, and this hearing is called for the purpose of Kildover Hills Board of Commissioners to consider a zoning amendment request, Chapter 150.180C, commercial zone density, to change density measurement to floor area ratio. Do we have any signed up? Okay. We do not have anyone signed up, so I'll just from the crowd. So I'll just ask: is there anyone in the crowd who wishes to speak on this particular zoning amendment request? All right. Having none, I'm turning it over to you guys then
All right.
for discussion and then a vote.
So if you would, give us a quick review of floor area ratio and how we've used it in other zones.
Yeah, so in quite a few other zones, we do use floor area ratio for the measurement for density for multifamily, cottage courts, cluster homes, hotel, motel. It's a much more understanding measurement because if, for example, right now in the commercial zone, it's 18 units an acre. That could be 18 units that are all 5,000 square feet.
That's right.
So it doesn't really give you a good picture of what 18 units an acre is. It could be the alternative. It could be 18 units at 500 square feet. So it's for a density measurement, it just doesn't paint a good picture for what you're going to get. So we actually we're working on making this in our update to our zoning ordinance for making this a density measurement for consistency purposes from a staff level. We're just not ready to present our draft yet. But it is this would be
That's where
more
we're
consistent with our ordinance. There is other portions that we do allow for greater floor area ratio when you have greater buffers or you don't go over certain building heights. So certain things can get you a greater floor area ratio, but it paints a better picture for what kind of density you're looking at.
And like you said, it's a more flexible tool because you can balance it against other goals
It
of the
is.
ordinance.
So I know the applicant has applied for this, but you're saying you were going this, the town was going this way anyway, eventually.
Yeah, we've approved several zoning amendments that were actually application directed for changing this measurement in other zoning districts. light industrial too, as of recently. But it's far more common zoning practice for this to be a much more user-friendly tool from staff's level and also from the public to be able to really know what you're going to get.
In our neighboring towns, are they, do you know, comparatively?
I don't know for each, but I think when Nags Head did their UDO, I do believe they adopted floor area ratio for all of their hotel, multifamily.
Okay.
But yeah, units per acre, it can not be what you think it is.
Right.
You know, especially with in the commercial zone with our higher building height of 50 feet, you can usually get a pretty large building.
And that makes it tough for everybody to plan, I assume, when it's abstract like that.
Yeah, you don't really know what you're getting.
Builders, everybody.
This, whether it's 10 units or 20 units, it's all under the same floor area ratio based off of your lot size to your actual gross floor area. So it's a better picture painted for sure.
It accomplishes what we want to get as a town in a sort of a fair level of density of bulk per lot. So it's a ratio of the square footage of the land to the square footage of each floor in your house. Every square foot of heated space, right? So the way I've described it to people, and tell me if I'm off base here, is that like I was mentioning with our 15,000 square foot lots, now that they're so expensive, there's kind of a financial incentive to maximize the size of the house because it lowers the cost per square foot of the house. If you built a 3-bedroom house on an acre lot, it's going to be $1,000 a square foot, right? So it's almost like it's a perverse, unintended consequence if you've got 18, so many units per acre.
Right.
Because then suddenly you get not what the market wants, but what maximizes, and that's
Right.
not what we want. So this allows everyone to meet the needs of the community more easily. Yeah.
Yep.
So any other questions about it? All right.
Satisfied?
I'm good.
Motion would be in order.
Yep. I'd like to make the motion. Get to the page there.
Mayor, I'll make a motion of approval. I'll make ordinance 153.180C commercial zone density / change density measuring to floor area ratio is consistent with all comprehensive plans and other official adopted plans for the town of Kittle Hills that are applicable. The amendment is reasonable and in the public interest because it provides a consistent measurement tool for regulating density.
I'll second.
Excellent. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Thank you all for that.
Thank you, commissioners. So now the last public hearing is going to come to order. Same rules of procedure will apply. This particular hearing is for the Board of Commissioners to consider the town manager's recommended budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024. I will note that the primary reason for this particular public hearing is to allow any individuals who want to speak on the budget or give comment on the budget that opportunity. You guys actually, as you know, from your agenda, you have a work session tonight concerning the recommended budget. So you won't be voting on the budget tonight. You will be voting on that at next meeting. Ms. Diaz, is that
Yes,
correct? Okay. So this is really just for public input. So no one signed up. So if anyone's out there wanting to speak about the budget, though, now's the time. Well, all right then. And that actually, I think, concludes the hearing then. So, all right, simple enough.
I would like that. We have had people give us some input via email, so we appreciate everyone who's written and called and text. I've definitely talked to a number of constituents. You probably all have to as well. So I appreciate Matt Walker in the audience who reached out to me. It's always good to ask all the hard questions. I had to put you on the spot, brother. All right. But yes, so that was the end of the.
You need a motion for that or no?
No, because we're gonna. It's carried over.
Yeah.
We're obeying it until.
Okay.
But the next item after the public hearing, which we just closed, is also public comment.
Yes.
So in order to check that box, everyone's clamoring to talk about something else. Yes, please. I knew there was something else. So we do public comment for those who are new at the beginning and the end of every meeting, kind of in the middle on this one, but usually the beginning and the end. So we'll have
This will
another
be
turn.
short. Duke Garrity, Halifax Home Builders Fair, Halifax Home Builders Association. I congratulate you. You did a good thing tonight. And you set an example. I hope the other towns take a look at. You were right up front in the beginning with ADUs, making some change to the ADUs. Now you made a change for this for cluster homes. Not going to solve everything, but it's a good ordinance. It's a nice development, I think. I think it's laid out real good, and it's going to be. We talk. And I do a lot of work with COAs, particularly on vocational training, and one of the biggest problems is that we can't get a teacher to come here. I said, go to the military, get the Army Corps of Engineers. These guys are retiring, looking for jobs, good pay. He says, well, they can't move here. There's no housing for them, particularly because those are usually part-time jobs, 2 or 3 nights a week. So maybe we'll see more of these. So I look at it again. I just wanted to give a little pat on the back and say, this is a tough thing to do because it's not popular with the residents. But you did it anyway. Staff did a great job putting the ordinance together, and it's going to help out. And I think it's going to look real nice when it's finished. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
One more call for public comment for anybody who's shy. Oh, Matt Walker.
Sorry.
You're gonna do it.
Matt Walker, 439 West Walker Street. I guess my question is, what if it doesn't work? What then? Because I've sat through a couple of these meetings where unintended consequences or unforeseen, whatever you want to call it. The one and that isn't even this any project, any of these changes, right? So the one in the Dare County meeting, they got 2 board of commissioners that literally said we didn't see this coming. I don't think anyone saw the thing by the monument coming. That didn't anything like we liked.
Nope.
So we're gonna try, and if it doesn't work, Or is it we're going to do something different? We're going to stop what we just approved if it doesn't work. If it is just more expensive houses packed together for people who can't afford them, it's not solving the intended problem, in which case it was the wrong thing to do. So then what do we do? And is there a ripcord built in? Is there some sort of sunset clause? Clearly not. I'm sure there isn't. But I mean, that's the question I'm asking for down there, because I hope it works. I'm not sitting here saying, I mean, I would love to see it work. I'd love to see people get houses for a lot of different reasons. I'd love to see all sorts of, you know what I want. I want this place to go back 20 years like the rest of the free world. But I'm asking the question, what if? I mean, because I heard a lot of actually, y'all don't sound too positive it is going to solve that original problem, in which case, why change these things to do it to begin with and add more people that aren't going to, that or may not, work here or solve those original problems. So that's my question or my comment. But do thank you guys for trying and doing all your stuff. I do agree.
Thank you.
It's a good point. Yeah. Can I address that? I think that you have to remember, and the board will change over and years down the line, they got to remember to revisit these things that didn't work or that didn't have the consequence, had unintended consequences or didn't solve the problem. So yeah, I don't know like who makes that master list and says, hey, yeah, we need to go back and readdress this. This was a mistake, or whatever. But, for sure, if this is a test, so to speak, to see if this works, then it's somewhere down the line, we need to have it on our calendar saying, hey, we need to look at it. Did it work? 5 years, 10 years, and then maybe.
We just had that.
Yeah.
We just had that.
Well,
Mayor Pro Tem brought up needing to go back. And
I was gonna say we've already gone. Like they're
Yeah,
not
go
even
back to
done,
the-
and I've already asked for us to go back
Yeah.
and
The ones on the
look
beach
at
are-
that. So
Yeah, I mean,
So I
regarding
think-
the site plan we looked at tonight, I mean, I think you look at the difference in the delicate area of the residential low zone was exactly why staff had recommended for it to be a special use. Because
right,
if it was in a different location, some of those questions may not have been answered with a
In the
yes.
affirmative.
Right.
So it
Right.
being a special use acts as a little bit more of a blanket to make sure that it is right for the adjacent property owners and that sort of thing. But then we did get some direction from the board to bring back some additional language to look at regarding what we're seeing on the ocean front from a cluster home development. So
Right.
we will bring things back from time to time to review when it's something that maybe you didn't see it's not how you envisioned it. So we can always revisit our zoning ordinance, find ways to strengthen regulations or all those things. So
Right. I think we have a conscientious group. Obviously, staff is conscientious. So everybody's looking at everything critically. I think this group will.
At the end of the day, it's a democracy, and we can always change everything, right?
Sure.
Anything that's on the books, we can change. So I, again, commend everyone for having the fortitude to do something difficult, to try something innovative. And there's the sort of structure of it, the closeness, the look and feel, all the other potential objections. And then there's the, separate from that, in my mind, is the deed restriction. I hope that as a test, the deed restriction part is the big win. And then we can find other ways to incentivize single-family homes that exist. What would it take to get someone, a property owner, to promise to always be a year-round home? How can we reward that? Is that a reward that can be done with cash? Is it some other incentive? It's all about the incentivization of making sure that some homes stay year-round, because the prices will run us all off this island if we don't do something, is my feeling. Yeah. So that's public comment. Any other response to public, or any more public comment before we kind of jump to response there, do we? Anybody else for public comment? We will have one more chance for public comment at the end of the meeting. That was response to public comment. Any ongoing business that did
Yes,
not
sir.
make it on there? All right, we'll move to new business. We have a draft water plan. Is there? There it comes. Man, the myth, the legend.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Before you have a local water supply plan and a water shortage response plan. Both of these plans are adopted by, or required to be adopted by our board every 5 years. The local water supply plan is a document that reports on our water usage and projections into the future, so we can monitor where we've been and where we're going. And, basically if we get to a certain level of usage, we will be required to do upgrades per our contract with Dare County, which is, if we ever get to like 2 days in a row for 90% of our water usage, we'll need to upgrade. We don't foresee that anytime next 20 years, but as far as the projections go, but if we keep growing, we have to reassess later. And then the second one is your water shortage response plan. And it is the plan that basically outlines what we do if we have a water emergency. Most likely the water emergency is going to come from a supply issue from Dare County. Say we have way too many people on all the beaches and the the wells are just going down. And the second is if we have a catastrophic breakdown in town, somebody hits the main on 16, on 12, and that would be more likely a shorter duration response. And the county, if our water supply was really in danger from the county, we would probably be a much more longer duration response. And there's different levels. There's 5 different levels. The first one being the alert, asking people to
use less water.
And they slowly progress to water rationing, which is the last part where it's truly you're getting fined and in trouble. But there are requirements in the middle where there's no outside water usage, and there are civil penalties assigned. And so what? But if you had any chance to look at the documents and you have any questions, let me know.
I did look at the document. I got to say, it's kind of spooky to read, imagining going down from layer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how sort of scary that would be if we really had a serious water crisis. But it's fantastic to know that we don't have to think about what to do. It's all there in case something terrible happens. It's a great document when it comes to planning. It's more thorough than I would have expected. And
There'll be a lot to think about.
It's impressive, yeah. There are other parts in the world where this has happened to them and they've had to do these things and try to convince people not to wash their car and then not use water outdoors at all. And it really gets serious by that last level. So we really appreciate the hard work that clearly went into preparing for this.
Sure.
Very, very thorough.
Yeah. The water department's always super impressed me. I think we did a tour right when we came on the board. And really, for the folks who haven't seen behind the scenes, it's a pretty incredible thing, the managing of water for everyone in the town. Yeah, so thanks for all the hard work back there and everybody behind the scenes.
So before you would have to adopt each one of the two documents, and there's the resolution in the
Yep.
packet with it.
So we need,
So you would have
there it is, the resolution adopting. Right. Oh, sorry. There we go. So I'm just making a motion to adopt this resolution. Is that
Yes,
correct?
sir.
both documents.
Make this motion.
I'll
Is there-
second it.
There's a second from Mr. Winley. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, Derek.
200 pages in this packet. Gotta keep myself straight. All right. We are down to committee reports.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
All right.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing here. All right, good. We have a pretty full schedule otherwise, so. And commissioner's agenda, start again down here.
We got enough to talk about tonight, Mayor.
That's true, that's true.
I was just going to say, Debbie and I attended the emergency management seminar the other day. And yeah, it was very informative, a lot of really great speakers, and Chief was there. And congratulations, Chief.
New grandbaby.
I knew he has a new grandbaby that came somewhat mid seminar. So I just wanted to say there is a lot of great information. There was a lot of great speakers. There's a lot of people working really hard to make sure that there is a plan for our county in the event that a catastrophic event would happen. And one of those things that's new is the web EOC. And they explained that later, which I know we're doing. He said that you had done the trainings and the crisis tracker. And so just for the public to know, because I think it's really cool, but this crisis tracker is a web-based program that would track and it labels the destruction of, and we can take it as far as we want it. We can include every single structure, and we can just include grocery stores and, the main things we need. But it helps to make some really data-based driven decisions. And I just thought it was really cool and worth a mention because
it changed our damage assessment, the software, night and day.
It's incredible.
From going from handwritten things in the field to bring it back to the office to enter it into a spreadsheet to then send it to Dare County. They can live see us in the field and what's affected with pictures and how affected. It's a game changer.
Yeah. And Drew's working on trying to drill down so that we can do by zip code, there's a lot of, very cool.
Very impressive. A lot goes
Really
on behind the
impressive.
scenes
Yes.
Over there.
Yes.
Citizens of Dare County.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people involved, and I think it's important for everyone to know that.
They do a bunch with weather too. They're always pushing out weather
Mhm.
bulletins every time there's
Yeah.
difficult weather. I'm sure you guys are all on that list. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
They
try
want
to share
everyone
that.
to stop sharing the model with the typical model that we see, because that's not what the damage comes from. The damage
Right.
doesn't come from that
Cone, it's different.
old school model. So
So they're trying to have better
there's
data.
some movement towards more storm and water and things like that. So yeah.
Predicting water level
Mhm.
rise is a big one.
Yeah.
All those
Yeah,
signs they
yeah.
put out and everything.
Yep. Anyway.
Commissioner agenda?
No. Not for me. Okay.
No. All right, mayor's agenda, you have in your packet a great edit to the resolution in support of the municipal zoning approaches and balanced zoning changes to North Carolina Assembly. This is our resolution that we looked at the previous meeting and have refined. Basically, opposition to a number of House bills and Senate bills that are taking, we're just making some mistakes about taking control away from municipalities like us when it comes to the makeup of our towns and zoning. So
Motion to approve.
we have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you so much for that. That is it for me on the mayor's agenda. Town manager's agenda.
Yes, sir.
How about consent agenda?
Yes, sir. And the town attorney didn't have anything this evening.
Okay, he had to go. All right.
Well, no, he didn't have anything.
Oh, he didn't have anything. Okay, great. We like it when he has nothing.
And he did have to go, but yes, I do, as do I.
There you go.
Wait, a hockey game?
No, it's done.
Oh, that's
over.
done already.
That ended last night. The minutes from the May 24th, 2023, monthly report, April 2023. Then we have some budget amendments. The first one is to record the revenues associated and associated expenditures for the IT software. This all goes back to our good friend Gatsby 96. To record the PEG channel support funds, to appropriate contributions received to the police department and the animal control division, and lastly, to appropriate funds for insurance claims filed through fiscal year 22-23. Staff recommends approval of consent agenda as presented in the motion. It's in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay?
Thank
Motion
you.
carries. Thank you.
Very much.
Consent agenda is approved. This is our second opportunity for public comment. After this, we will go into a work session. So one more chance for public comment for everyone tough enough to hang it out this far into the meeting. Going once, going twice. All right, we'll close public comment. And I guess we don't need response to public comment, so that arrives us here at the general budget work session. Where would we like to start?
We start with a break.
Yeah.
Break is a good idea. Let's take 5.
Break.
Thank you.
All right. Let me clean up my desk over here.
Yeah.
Too much stuff. Well, there's one more. Oh, there is one. We got to vote on the budget before July.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So we'll have a chance to promote. Now it's just expected anyway. We know. I actually just wish that, I know it wouldn't happen, but it'd be nice if we could spread it out, you know? It's kind of think that they're all at the same time,
Fireworks? That would be good to have 3 dates in a row.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
Monday, they're Tuesday, we're Wednesday. We
Yeah,
all go to all of them.
We're at all of them, yeah. At least 2.
Serious traffic.
Yeah, that's true.
Just spread the traffic.
You're right about that. That would not work. 9:15 at Avalon Pier.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yeah. I think that would be fun. I mean, I don't think it matters what side it's on.
I know. What do they do with the ditch? What do they do with the ditch?
I'll make him put in.
What happens to that? What happens to that ditch?
Well, where the sidewalk will come across, it's already piped.
Okay. But what behind like Starbucks and stuff? That gets filled up.
I mean, ideally,
Yeah.
but it would just be, we muck it every year to clean it out.
But the developer's not messing with that.
No, not at this point. I think Eddie owns the lots that are also on Blue Jay. So if he wants to open it there, he has to put the street in. And I think he's probably going to have to Water, but that back street, that could go all the way to make tracks.
Yeah.
All the way circle pit,
Yeah.
behind soccer building.
It'd be beneficial to them, it'd be more marketable.
Oh, yeah, I mean, if you have that secondary road, it also gets you,
Yeah.
not having to cut through like they said, all those.
But we couldn't force them to do it in any real
Not for this
pressure.
but for the next one, if he wants to be able to go on it, that's what.
So do we have a year on that, Martin, on finishing the other side, Martin?
No,
or
that's
not?
not,
No, not really.
There's a couple of projects.
Yeah.
kind of it being, getting some more sidewalks down West First
Yeah,
Street. Just where you've gotten a lot of development back on First Street.
Yeah.
There's a couple other
Yeah.
west, but
You could, yeah, I'm done.
yeah, they're trying to do it with street projects. If there's things for the
Yeah.
buck, but,
Yeah.
You could picture 21 rich people owning all of them too. You could, right? Like Virginians that come down, like like it's their
But
country.
here's the bottom line, like, we can't control
No, of
that.
course,
And
of
also,
course.
the other thing
Well, here's
is,
the thing,
it still
if you
lessens
get-
the inventory.
If you
So
get,
it doesn't,
as long as
you
they're
know what
not,
I mean?
as long as they're not.
Everybody
short-term,
came from somewhere.
It doesn't make the problem any worse.
Worse, yeah. for
I
sure.
mean, there's just a handful that are actually born here.
Right.
well, and I do think.
Owen being one of them.
Okay, so one,
Exactly.
yeah, probably
Yeah,
everybody
my
in the
conversation
room.
with the developer, I think they're looking for a partner being someone like the hospital or a
Yes.
larger employer.
Yeah.
that's had such a hard time, and they're gonna be the ones blanketing with all of that.
Right.
Aren't you gonna go for the? But aren't they gonna be hot? They're gonna be hot. I think they already have lists for these things.
I mean, the hospital's already paying for people to stay in Marriott for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So the hospital gets 4 of them for travel nurses.
But why would you hold them for them when you can go put them on the public market? And, you know.
No, I think it'll go to the.
No, I
high
don't
bidder.
think the
Yeah.
hospital's
No,
gonna, yeah, they're gonna,
The truth is,
they're gonna buy
because
it for
it's
what
only
they sell
4,000
for.
square feet of land around it, if the market will not pay more than
How are
it
you?
pays for the house that's got
good,
10 dwellings.
Ready
I
to
also
get
don't think
this
they're
done.
gonna sell that. I mean, for my, for this whole thing,
Oh, they're gonna hold it and rent. it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the most,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I mean, that can be.
It's risky though.
It's not as lucrative as building and doing structure.
But there's
It's less.
guaranteed you're gonna have 10.
But you're guaranteed. That's the thing is, I want to build apartments. I don't want to
I mean,
build
there's a town, like Rundle, they started saying that they realized like soccer's project in Rundle. I was like,
And they're full.
Yeah.
and it can be.
That's what I'm saying. It's not about price. You could just stop talking about price. People will pay.
Yes.
We just need to work on the ratio.
Well, and the more that's added to the inventory, the more it's gonna come down. Like, that's just
But it's price,
eventually,
it's exactly.
like,
If we do 2,000 homes come on, then the price will come down. The truth is, they'll only come down if there's too much long-term housing, which we're so far away from.
right,
Right. Because basically it's two
Yeah.
markets. The market for short-term rentals is unlimited.
Yeah.
There'll never be enough short-term rentals. The market will still run them up. So I just keep going all the ways we can.
Although the nicer ones will get rented and the less nice ones.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Be
it is not uniform.
They keep it nice.
The way construction cost is down. Lumber is a pre-COVID price.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. Other things are wire,
Right.
all that.
Electrician's up
else.
7.5%.
Engineering.
Engineering's up. All that stuff.
Architects.
We ready?
But it's, but the cost of construction is
Moderated. So.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I think we got about one more year of going through all those COVID projects. And then it'll really.
Oh yeah, you were doing your work. You were going around.
Microphones are on. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Let me bring us back into session there. And
Beginning on each page.
we'll let our town manager lead off.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We are prepared to start anywhere you'd like. If you have no objections, I was going to recommend we start on tab 4 and just speak to some general statistics, general data on the revenues. Is there anything you'd like to address before tab 4? I mean, we can always go back.
No.
No.
Absolutely.
No tab.
So just
Oh, wait a minute.
let's just hit some of these bullets. The ad valorem rate that's recommended is 0.355. Municipal service district is the 24 cent. State and local sales tax are projected to increase 3% compared to 22-23 actuals with updated levy shared percentages. Occupancy tax, the same. The land transfer is estimated to remain at the 22-23 levels. Powell bill distribution is based on our population and the street mileage and will maintain the same. And the revenues for the general sales tax on electricity based on projected energy consumption is estimated at the same levels. And the water fund administration allegation cost is based on a ratio formula applied to the share cost. What that is the amount that the general fund charges the water fund for the services that we provide. Angel and myself is an example of that. So that's just some general highlights. As you know, from previous years and budgets that we've presented to you, we estimate our revenues. We feel that they're conservative, but we don't feel that they're overly conservative.
Talk about the 3% on occupancy. How did that discussion go? I was curious, and it's so hard to predict.
It is really hard to predict. We consulted with the Visitors Bureau to see what they project. They project shoulder seasons could go down slightly, but strong summers.
Mhm.
So even if we see lower numbers, higher prices,
Higher prices offset it,
the
yeah.
lower numbers that we're seeing.
We might end up
So-
with less people, but they're still going to pay more.
but they're paying more.
Okay, that makes sense.
Do you have any particular questions on any of the revenues by line?
The land transfer tax, they think will be flat, same difference, like less transfers but at higher dollars.
Correct. It's really hard to predict.
That's a
though.
tough one because it
Um,
could drop off a cliff. No, maybe.
Don't see the cliff dropping.
Okay. All right. But yeah, I don't know how you decide these things. That's a tough one. Yep,
This is always going to be somewhere people want to be.
that's true. I just think about the cost to borrow and all that sort of thing. Where things we're not turning over as much. But you're right. I think the volume is still up, right? It hasn't really changed on the volume side. Yeah.
What I would suggest if the board is in concurrence is that we go beyond the summary on the expenditures and get into the individual departments. I recommend that because if there's a specific question that you've got about an increase, it's easier for us to explain it to you when we're in the department as opposed to the town as a whole or the general fund as a whole. So with that, if you'd please go to tab 6. This is the administration. I will also tell you, throughout the budget, you will not see any recommended new positions.
Noticed
What we
that.
are asking you for is a workforce study. So chances are any new positions that would be recommended would be in your plan year budget based on the findings of the workforce study.
So that's an outside contractor kind
Yes,
of thing?
sir.
Yeah.
We could go to page 14. Again, for the entire town, both water and general fund, we're recommending a 6.5% COLA. In administration, we do have the necessary training for the staff or certifications, the workforce or study that I indicated. This is a municipal election year, so there is a cost for the municipal election. And we're continuing to fund, or recommending to continue to fund 4th of July, Christmas at the Town Hall, Ice Cream Social, Trash Tax, Beaconsfield events, and other, and the CAC Commission is included in those events.
That's under the operations line item, yeah.
Yes, so that would be and all of that is an admin with a portion of the cost for the water fund in their admin budget.
Mhm.
That's the special events line,
Oh, special. events.
79,000.
Gotcha, there it is.
And as all of you have seen, our events over at Aviation Park have just been so successful. It's just so beautiful, especially at Christmas.
Yeah.
And now we have the increased parking, which will definitely come in handy for our First Flight markets, which are going to be starting very soon this month.
They did a great job on that parking too,
They really
Mm.
did.
you know, to do it.
Yeah, so
Themselves, they did super. Looks good.
drainage on it and everything. I was going to say before you moved on from this, so would you break out personnel on the second page and go, but well, what I was hoping you'd speak to is when I went department by department, I know we've got a COLA and we've got some costs with healthcare that went up. But the difference between the previous budget and this year's budget is a bigger increase in some departments than others. Is that usually merit raises and things like that, or
Well,
what else goes into that?
It's the various things. It could be merits. It also could be turnover. If you've had a long time employee that's retired, for example, and you're filling that position would not be filled at that same
Right, you might
level.
go the other way.
You might go the other way.
Right, some are lower because
And
they've
then
got new
depending on
employees.
What else you're filling.
Yeah.
So that's generally those two factors, merits and
And different level.
and different levels.
That makes sense.
of attrition.
Which line is the budget item for that workforce manpower study?
That would be a contracted services. Let's see.
That's the next 16 at the top.
Contracted services. Yes, with a portion. That is what it is.
It is.
With a portion is also in the water fund.
Yes.
So it's kind of broken up. Did you say it was or wasn't?
Seems that, not that.
It's not that bad, yeah.
Much, no.
The county's was 3 times that one.
No.
They have a lot more employees though.
Oh, yeah.
They have a lot more employees.
Did they have a workforce study, or are you thinking about their salary?
Oh, maybe I was mixing up with
benefits
salary.
and salary
That's a little
expenses?
different then.
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Okay.
And that's something that the board would be looking at.
When's the last time we did a salary study here? Been a little while.
It's been a little while, but we've been maintaining our levels. In other words, our salary study, the last salary study did a really good job of making sure that our departments have the opportunity for people to have career development advances.
Mhm.
So not just the opportunity for a merit increase, but as you increase it, whatever the trade is that you're working, whatever department, as you increase your ability to do your job better through certifications and various trainings, you're also able to move up the ladder.
It's good for retention and
Mhm.
getting people a little extra
Yeah,
pay.
yeah, and that was very difficult during COVID.
Is that,
Especially,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I should say it was very difficult.
Is that why let me make sure I've got the right one, 5,000. Is that why that is higher? Is that where that cost is?
I actually want to correct you.
Contracted.
It's in professional services.
Under contracted services? The cost of that study?
I'm sorry,
I
sorry,
jumped back to page 10.
No, I was wrong. The workforce study is in professional services.
Okay.
That's in the, that is the 29,605. That's the first line under operations.
Okay.
And then the additional part of that would be in the water fund. contracted services is,
I'm sorry.
that wasn't your question though. What was your question? I'm sorry.
Well, I jumped back a couple pages there. I saw an increase in that, and I was just curious as to why. It was about I think a 20% increase. Am I reading that right?
Which
I'm
line
sorry,
are we
I
looking at?
didn't.
54, 5,000, page 10.
Tell me what it's called.
Contracted services.
On page 10?
10.
16.
10?
Yeah, I jumped back to 10.
That's
Page 10.
So that's as a whole, that's all the departments. So we'll get to specifically how that is increasing
Okay.
when we get to each individual department.
They all flow
Okay.
into that one from the other
I-
department.
Right.
Yeah, I just, when y'all started talking about contracted services, I went back to wanting to know why.
That's the top one.
Okay, I got you.
So some of it's an admin, but some of the other is.
Well,
other
the
departments.
20% that stuck out to me.
No,
The
we'll see that.
Yeah.
It'll come up in
See,
another
it's-
department.
Yeah. Probably Derek's department.
Well, that'll be in the water fund. Well, I guess you got some streets and solid waste and all that too. You do other things, don't you?
For videotaping was only $200 this year.
Okay, now that I threw everybody off, where are we at now?
Okay,
15, 16.
your partnerships. You know what your partnerships are. I do know that you got a request from
We're at the end.
Room at the End. And I think they had requested that you discuss it at your budget work session.
Mhm. And what have we done in the past there?
Well, that has not been a request
In
before,
the past, oh,
or
okay.
that has been approved. It has been requested, but it has not been approved by the board. The board typically now, the partnerships that you're with, they, on an annual basis, report back to you how your contribution, your partnership, your monies were spent that had a direct effect on citizens of the town of Killable Hills. So I think that's what you've got to ask yourself at any time you're looking at partnering. Are we really partnering? It's not saying how you feel about the organization. It's not saying how you feel about the work that they do. It's just, can you justify that expenditure has a direct effect, positive effect on your citizens? And if you'll go back and think through some of the reports that you've gotten from the other partnerships and how they were able to show that, then that would be the question that you would ask yourself about that request.
I'll speak on partnerships. I think, like the Nature Conservancy, we're getting a bargain there. Look how much of our land they manage for us.
Mhm.
It is that's a partnership I feel strongly about and we're happy with.
Very good point.
Community Care Clinic, I think, serves a lot of KBH residents, and it's kind of a safety net for them. Another one, I think it's a slam dunk for us. The other ones, I have no problem with the partnerships, but if we wanted to add or subtract, I think we need to keep that budget line as is. You don't need to put more into it, but maybe divvy up the contributions. But the top two I mentioned, I think we really get good value there, especially in the Nature Conservancy. And we need to maintain that partnership.
Good points. Good points.
And I wasn't suggesting that you needed to
Yeah,
change any.
Yeah.
I think the ones that you have are able each year to show how they provide benefits to the town. And as I mentioned to you at the last meeting, we had our first health fair here. And Interfaith, they had a table. And it was interesting as they talked to some of our employees, whether it was for our employees themselves and what they might provide for them or someone our employees knew. So I think the board's done a really good job in the past with those partnerships and those partnerships being able to show you how they're helping your citizens.
Good to know. Yeah.
But it's just something you can think about. And,
Yeah.
What line is that? Partnerships?
It's contributions. It's down. Let's see, where is it?
Okay.
It's at 30,000.
I
It's
see.
you got it.
I think so. Contribution.
523010. It's on page 15 near the bottom.
Yes,
It's like 2/3 of the way down.
Mhm.
Operations.
I got it now. Sorry.
Okay. Alrighty.
Yeah. Same all the way through.
Okay, if there's not anything else for admin, then we can flip to tab 7, which is
Do you have the breakdown of the partnerships? Do you?
um 5,000 for
5,000 for the YMCA Community Card Clinic of Dare, 10,000. Interfaith Community Outreach is 10,000. Nags Head Woods Ecological Preserve is 5,000.
What do you?
Marinate on that for a minute.
Okay,
Yeah, we can move
Yep.
on.
excuse me.
Yep. Move on.
Yeah, tab
Buildings and
7,
grounds.
buildings and grounds. Page 18, just go over quickly the highlights. It does include the debt service for the Public Works Complex and the lease of the new fire station. Just some general capital outlay, 30,000 for the gate improvement at the Public Works Complex. New generator, 45, 100,000 for ADA compliance improvements, 15,000 for renovation to the old bathroom building at Meekins Field. That's to renovate it to be used for something other than bathroom. And 76,000 for aviation park renovations. And we'll go through those a little more in depth as we flip. There's 100,000 for the shoreline capital reserve and also for the recreation reserve, and then a new pickup truck. So if you'll go to page 21, you'll see the description of the capital and the breakdown of aviation park improvements.
Quick question.
Mhm.
Identify and implement improvements for ADA compliance. Where do we have ADA opportunities now that need investment?
It's from the assessment that was done on the town. Charlene, do you want to speak to that particularly? I know you were very involved with.
Yes, we're still going through that assessment. There are surveys out there for people to give us input on certain directions. It also takes into account streets, sidewalks, all of our buildings, all of our parks, beach accesses. And so what we do, when we do find things, we go ahead and fix them. But once we're done with the assessment, we'll come up with a transition plan because there's no way we can do all of that that would need to be done. So the transition plan may cover 5, 10 years, 20 years. So you should see the results in the report from that in the following year. But we've been working on that all year.
But we'll probably identify $1 million worth of work, and we're going to do 100,000 of it this year. Yeah. Yeah, it's not cheap to get all that stuff up to.
No.
It's not.
Well, I think back to our Ocean Atlantic, what we did for the ADA beach access and how wonderfully that's been used and utilized. We've made some awfully good investments there and really done a lot of good. And so something to get excited about.
Any other questions on those capital outlay items?
Oh, hockey rink.
No, we got it. There was actually a message about the hockey rink. That was one of the budget. Yes.
Yeah, I've gotten some calls about that too.
So it's great.
You could do it.
You could.
In fact, everything on that. And that was the only comment in our portal.
I know.
Yeah. How about that?
I'm not even a resident. It's an exciting budget when you get people to read it. Yeah. Just to speak to that, there is, we're looking at the hockey rink resurfacing. Sunshades are being addressed and lighting improvement replacements are taking place, will be taking place. But as Commissioner Gray alluded to about the parking lot and how good that does, this division really does an awesome job of how well our campuses, how well they look and all that they keep up with the parks. It's a lot of area. If there's no additional questions there, we can go to tab 8, which is going to be Finance and Tax Department. 25, we'll just touch on the highlights. With the health care, we did see a 5.5 increase. Our property and liability insurance increased by 20%. We continue to do our tax collections with Dare County. And again, their training opportunities continue. And this includes an actuary study for the other post-employment benefits variation required by Gatsby 75, and contributes to the OPEB irrevocable trust. There's no requested capital in finance.
One thing I wanted to say is on finance, we had some changes and they never missed a beat. Never missed a beat. And you guys did good.
Thank you.
Got an excellent staff up there. And sometimes I think that maybe we don't tell them thank you enough. I mean, fire department, police department, they're always out front and they're shiny and we love them to death and appreciate everything they do, but we hardly ever say anything about finance. They do a great job.
They do, absolutely. And you're right. They did miss a beat.
No, never did.
So, never do. Never have.
30 plus years of winning awards.
Absolutely, yes. A subdivision of finance is the MIS division. It's going to be your next tab, and then page 28. This includes all current maintenance contracts licensed for townwide systems and software. Has an addition of the service-related software for our budgeting, and it includes replacements of the town and the fire server, and includes equipment for the new fire station.
It's not bad. Thought it'd be more.
Another division of finance is on tab 10, fleet maintenance. Page 32, the fuel prices per gallon are derived from an estimate of wholesale prices from the Energy Information Association. and our wholesale supplier. We've budgeted 2.911 for regular and 3.646 for diesel. We're charging it back to the departments based on the usage. And as you recall, we are sharing that facility with Dare EMS. You did the memorandum of understanding with the county. That was beneficial to all of us because that kept them from having to use space at the new site for that, because they were going to need
Fuel.
a fueling station on the beach. So that's worked out very well.
Another win. People always say we don't play well together, but we have a lot of those things going on.
I was just thinking that, but I wasn't sure how to say it. But
Yeah.
you said it perfect.
Yeah. It seems to be like the common understanding
We
that
don't
we
show
don't
it.
share.
We
We're like,
don't
no,
show
we
everything,
do
yeah.
sometimes. Not all the time.
You do very well.
Sometimes.
Well, I think if anyone had been in the room with Commissioner Ingram and Chief Tilley and I yesterday, you'd see how well
Everybody works together.
the county works together, and not just the elected officials and the people that work for those entities, but our Park Service, our Dominion Power, the Coast Guards, the weather people from Morehead City that came up, the folks from Raleigh that came up. It's just, it was very impressive. Yeah, very impressive.
Side note, I was interviewed by a fellow doing his doctorate on COVID response, and he was telling me that his initial research is so interesting to a lot of other people that he's had people say that he expects that when it's published, he'll be out speaking and talking about how well Dare County collaborated on the, compared to other places, it was head and shoulders. There were other places where it was a complete show, as it were.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting to see his perspective, having kind of looked at it across the nation and across the state, that we really stood out that way. And, I was telling him in the interview that I credited a lot to the emergency management.
I did the same, yes.
Yeah, we this weird to have a benefit from being in Hurricane Alley, right? But it really is because of Ash Wednesday and because of everything that came after that we collaborate so well. And then during COVID, it just made everything stronger because we had all those meetings and everybody.
Well, it's kind of like going back to the water plan that you just spoke to.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like to think about it happening, but if it does, we've got the plan. The same thing happened with COVID before, because Dare County has used that group of
You just
the
called it
senior
up.
leaders and have used it in other situations, which has been weather related. It still fits.
Yep.
Or, for a health issue. So,
Right, and where other people were fighting with each other, we were, the Bayers and all the folks, all the different departments, the PIOs all worked together
Right,
during
exactly.
COVID and came up with great ways to work. They all did better because they were working together.
Right.
Where other places were fighting like cats and dogs. So we're still reaping the benefits of that today, and I think we will continue to do so. And then if this paper comes out, it looks like we'll be sharing our best practices with others. Anyway, sorry to divert.
Oh, no. So with fleet maintenance, there is no capital. There are some, you will see some increases in supplies and materials. This is for replacement of the shop air dryer system, equipment system upgrades, and some replacements of the tools and other equipment. But it fell under the threshold of capital, so it's all within your operations. Another group of employees that do an amazing job with the fleet that we have. Keeping it up and running, and
Finding ways to be efficient too. Yeah, they are
yes.
all great efficiencies back there.
Our next department is planning and development. Tab 11. Started doing this, never needed glasses. 36 is the highlights, includes updates to the shoreline access plan and the recreation facility plan, and purchasing a couple of new pickup trucks. the capital outlay is simply the lease and the excise tax on those vehicles. And you see on a regular basis what they do, so.
Yep.
They do pretty good work.
Yes, they do. Beach Nourishment on 12, again, another outstanding job that was done with Meredith as the project director for our Beach Nourishment. Ours went very smoothly as it did the first time around. But I can report that Weeks is finished with duck, so it's all done. So for the Beach Nourishment, it does include the special obligation bond debt. As we talked about with the MSD, the tax rate is remaining the same. Every part of that comes back to MSD, the interest on the tax for that and so forth. We have, it includes the cost for the MSD for this, the audit and the tax collection fee. And this also includes the ongoing beach maintenance, surveying, and analysis of the shoreline. If we could, we can now go to tab 13, which is our police and animal control. Page 45, our highlights. We have the mandatory funding of law enforcement separation allowance for 2 retiring police officers. It includes the necessary training, maintenance of current certifications, and required development, placing 5 vehicles. And it includes the purchase of speed monitoring and reporting signs.
I do not like that.
I know.
So I'll just tell you, I don't like it. I don't think we need to do it, and I won't say any more about it because I know I'm not carrying any weight.
We've all had minority opinions somewhere along the line.
Yeah. So I can't see spending $21,000 for that.
That's why we're great for it. We agreeably disagree.
That's right.
Along with what Mayor Gray was just, what Commissioner Gray, you were at one time.
I was.
Back in.
On page
Might be, yeah.
48, also includes the lease purchasing for the vehicles and the excise tax on those vehicles. Tab 14, animal control. And the highlights, they maintain the current level of service, which for 2 people is an amazing level of service, I think. And I think other people do as well. If you'd have seen the contributions from Mary's Paws Park last week, I mean, Michael, was it not unbelievable? Just, it was overwhelming. For items that were shared both with our animal control and with the SPCA. Yeah, a lot of good stuff.
Well, I can tell you our animal control does a great job.
They do.
And every time I've ever interacted with them, they've been fantastic.
Same.
And if they're out, the police will come. Because they came and got a little lost dog from my house not that long ago.
Yeah. All righty, if we're done with that, we can go to tab 15, which is our Fire Department and Ocean Rescue. 55 is some highlights on the fire station. Necessary training, got health and fitness screenings both for our volunteers and our career firefighters. It includes replacement of the vehicle extraction equipment. Going to replace the Dodge Ram and a Ford Explorer and purchasing a thermal imaging camera.
That's that capital outlay.
Capital outlay, yeah, the camera is $7,000. And then the vehicles and then the excise tax, because those are, will be lease purchases.
Leases.
Yes, and that's on page 57.
Debbie, quick question, not specific to this section, but are all the town cars, trucks, street vehicles leased, or do we own any of them?
For the most part, your general fund vehicles are leased and your water fund vehicles we own outright. We pay cash.
That's usually to do with like mileage and depreciation, and there's some math that goes into that.
And following, we have a schedule,
Hmm.
but we also depend a lot on our fleet maintenance to advise the finance director of when it's becoming, even if the mileage is relatively low, but where they're becoming more costly to try
To
to
maintain.
you're losing the time of them on, actually out there doing what they're supposed to be doing, and a lot of time and money being spent back there.
Right.
So-
The graphs cross at a certain
A
point.
lot of factors. And
Swap it out.
with the gov deals, they do sell well.
Yeah.
So it's worked out. That's worked out good. We do some moving within the departments depending on what you need them for. But still, sometimes you just have one that it's just better to move
Yeah.
on.
Time to move
We've
on.
all seen that in our personal lives with our
Yeah.
vehicles.
Yes.
Is the town looking at electric as like an option, and is there
We are
benefits from-
looking at various things with that, with the studying, and with charging stations. Charlene is working. Charlene, where is he from? The gentleman with the
Special Studies Institute.
Yes.
Some technical assistance.
resiliency.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Are there grants to
Yeah,
change your
yes.
fleet over to electric and things like that?
Not to change your fleet. There
Yeah.
may be, there's some grants maybe for some charging stations and,
That'd be neat.
That'd be neat.
yeah,
All the incentives that exist, right?
right. But yes, sir.
Looking at that, always looking at that.
Yes, sir.
Super. Big supporter of that.
Have electric fire. No electric fire.
That'll be
Or-
that'll be the
Probably
last.
is one. I'm sure there's one somewhere. Oh yeah. RC 0 to 60.
Okay, our ocean rescue includes funding to maintain the present level of service at 21 stands. We have increased our starting salary for our lifeguards to $18. Trying very hard to be competitive. We do have a lot of lifeguards that come back. Dave's done a really good job. He does a really good job recruiting our guards. Replacing a Dodge Crew Cab pickup and purchasing a jet ski.
Those things wear out too.
Oh, yes.
Especially in the ocean.
See that capital on page 61, the leasing and excise tax, and then the jet ski. If there's no additional questions, we'll go to tab 17. It's going to be our public services department. Go through each division.
One quick question.
Yes, sir.
Maybe it's more of a comment, but Dave has been driving his truck since 2016.
I don't know
That thing
that,
is tough
I don't know that that's, well, somebody's been driving that truck. It
Okay,
may-
'cause
It may be Ben. or
Dave
it
puts
might
his
be
truck,
Ben.
yeah, Dave put that truck there.
What are they called?
So there's
Yeah.
a difference. There's
Yeah, I
Dave
wouldn't wanna buy
mileage
that
and
one
then
off
everybody
Gov
else.
Deals,
Yeah, I got you.
That's a Dodge should make a commercial out of that.
Keeps it shined up nice.
He does. Low tire pressure, sand all the time, rust. The truck.
Page 64, capital reserve, we have 100,000 for sidewalks, for the reserve. Street, reserve fund in the amount of 342,829 for future street projects, additional of 250,000 for, Powell. This includes $92,124 for additional mowing, edging, and sweeping of the, bypass. Replacing a trailer and a dump truck, and replacing a Ford F-450 dump truck, a Bobcat, and a US Jet Storm pipe cleaner. Those capitals are on page 67. Now, if you recall at a few meetings ago, you approved the contract for the street work for this upcoming fiscal year
Early.
and this budget year, moving the 2 million and something from fund balance because we felt comfortable with the money that we had from COVID, so that contract has been signed. The notice to proceed has been given, so the contractor is now able to schedule that, order their supplies. We felt like that was going to give us a better price, and when we felt comfortable that it did. And as you recall, that's something that we discussed that we will possibly want to try to start doing more in the future, giving our contractors a larger window to order their supplies, since supply chain issues are still an issue, and getting their calendar set up for knowing that they're going to need their employees for these jobs.
Yeah, it really untethers us from that artificial July 1 shift
Yes, sir.
business. Yeah.
Right.
That's great.
So I think that was some really good planning on Steve and Derek and Pete's part.
It's nice to have that cash in the bank to be able to do that.
Yes.
Good job, guys.
Really creative.
Commissioner Gray, to speak to your point about contracted services, that additional mowing, edging, and sweeping that's where the bulk of that increase is
Thank
from.
you. I've forgotten. Wow, I forgot that. Thank you.
Looking good out there.
Where's my slide list? To tab 18, page 68, that's your POW bill, as we spoke to earlier. The 250 is capital outlay for the street construction, and then you've got your supplies and materials and professional services for the other 22,000.
Pretty straightforward.
Next tab, which will be 19, is your solid waste. Page 70. Tipping fees include an estimated 10,466 tons of garbage at $93.35 per ton. Also includes a monthly fuel surcharge and an estimated 915 tons of C&D at $68.96. We continue to have our tub grinding service, and we're going to replace a Mack roll-off dump truck and a pickup truck. That capital outlay is on page 72 for your lease purchasing.
I was reminded during COVID how much the tipping fees went up. That was it in 2020.
The amount of trash.
Yeah, that was
Oh, yeah.
nuts.
Yeah, it's
Funny to
everybody
see
was
that in the
eating at
budget.
home, take out.
Hmm.
That concludes the general fund. Is there any other questions or comments? Anything you'd like to go back and discuss?
No, I think I got it. I think the tricky things in my mind are always those big chunks that moved around, and I never really know where they are. But I know we had COVID money that came in, went to pay another thing, and then it increased our. We spent some of it in capital on streets, and then we upped our reserve. There you go. I think of the word.
But as the board indicated in the beginning, when we knew we were going to be getting funding, COVID funding, your goal and what you have done is used it for your infrastructure improvements
Yep.
and not general
No, it
operations.
should never be general operations. It's definitely one-time money.
And that's what's been done.
Capital
It's
revenue
one-time
transfer.
money.
Right. Gotcha.
No additional questions on the general fund, then we can go to the water fund, and I would suggest to go to tab 22, page 75. We're continuing to follow the Water System Master Plan's recommendation. The water rates are increasing by 4%, along with the increase adopted by the master plan for water tap fees based on cost and installation, and the $18,750 repayment from the wastewater fund. Tab 24. Page 83. Here again, we have the same as the general fund, the COLA and the insurance. Also increases in the liability and the general insurance. And that cost allocation that I've referenced in the general fund is shown in the water admin.
Good question.
Yes, sir.
Page 76, the taps and connections lines. For this year, we had budgeted 50,000 and the actual show 130,000. I know that tap fees have gone up. Was that also just strictly a fee increase that allotted to that, or just we had a lot more houses getting built and connected to the system, or some of both?
Might have been all those apartments.
Yeah, apartments could have been. Because
Water tap fees.
we're budgeting back, we did 130, we
We're
budgeted
back
50, and then we're back down again.
Right.
Is
Was
it just
that
an anomaly, or?
was that the big? Yeah, because I know there was discussion of how much those fees were. That was a big project. I don't know what the number was.
Single family dwellings were steady.
Through the roof. Yeah.
Had a couple big multi-family projects and combination of that.
Yeah. I can't remember. It was on the real estate OBAR's report. 89 permits or whatever.
When you said it, they can stay.
It's been steady.
And you single family.
Yeah.
See, just right down the street right here.
Yeah.
6th Avenue, you got 8 of them.
They went north of Eden Street,
Eden,
Palmetto,
Palmetto.
Oh, yeah.
all those lots, they're almost done.
Water
There was a-
Oaks.
Water Oaks.
Water Oak, yeah,
Yeah.
subdivision.
Yeah, whole
Been-
lot.
It's been steady.
Yeah, there'll never be too much supply when it comes to housing, right? Never.
Okay, we go to the water plant. Page 87, the wholesale water rate is $1.838 per thousand. Capital improvements include 8th Street pump can inspection, gate and check valve replacement, and gate operator replacement. That breakdown is on 89. I think I've commented before to the board, but I'd just like to state it again. Even though these are two separate funds, the general fund and the water fund, and you've got Steve and Derek that head up the section of the public services, the streets and solid waste, and then the water fund. But those divisions and those two departments work so well together. They're so, the cross training is just incredible. And anytime you see a situation where we're in a storm related event or just a lot's going on, you see the tags with the names with all of the divisions out there pulling together, even if it's a solid waste issue or a street issue or it's a water issue. Those water guys are there helping and vice versa. And I just really commend Steve and Derek on that, and the whole team. Marsha's right there too. She keeps them, and they've had some folks out with illnesses and various things. But again, you don't know about it because they don't miss a beat. So,
You got a pretty good team, madam.
yeah,
Yeah.
they are very. So the water plant, water systems. $75,000 for water line improvements associated with street projects. A cartridge check valve meter gasket, and $130,000 to USA meters for meter installations.
You know, just a side note, when we did the water deal earlier, 81 miles of pipe. Wow. That's how much pipe we got, 81 miles of pipe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
60 miles of street.
Wow.
Sometimes the water line goes out the street.
That's a lot.
And that's what it did.
Wow. Isn't that something?
It really is. It's amazing.
It just boggles your mind.
You know where every asbestos one is and every.
He does.
Good system.
Yeah. Bill Waterfield knows where every inch of it is located.
Yeah. Encyclopedic knowledge there. Back of the hand stuff.
Alrighty, our wastewater budget, which is pretty darn basic. You want to flip to 29, page 100. The operation and maintenance of the plant continues to be contracted, and it does include the loan repayment, to the water fund.
Flat budget. That is a flat budget.
Excuse me?
You don't see many flat budgets.
It's a flat budget.
It's and I'll tell you, one of the reasons that it's able to be that flat is because of the contracted service. This is an example of where that's worked very well for us. If we were doing this in-house, we'd have to have at least 2 employees. That's what we did before.
Yep.
And one of those has to have a very high level of certification. I forget what it's called, particular name.
But it would cost more than this.
They cost a lot. Whereas with the contracted services, they have that level, but they're able to do,
Spread it all
Spread
around.
it out
And we
all
locked
around.
these prices in a while back.
right.
Yeah. So they're staying steady.
So, yeah, that's worked very well for us. And that's the town manager's recommended budget.
Amazingly complicated.
Questions, comments?
This is a big picture one. I spent 11 years on the school board and they do a great job with their budget. They've had great finance people there over the years. And one of the things that spoiled me over there was that really they kept all the capital really separate from like the budget. You've got the capital mixed in with everything. So I was trying to make my own spreadsheet and separate them out, and then I realized, okay, I get it. They all balance. It's just presented in a different way. That one department needs something big one year, and they're so if you make a graph, it kind of zigzags like this with the departments, but then you realize that's mostly the capital part of it.
Well, it also depends on what your capital threshold is. What is the dollar amount that you've established
Overall, for all of
for
them
something to
combined.
be capital outlay?
Oh, right. It's a
as-
certain dollar amount that
Yes.
turns into capital if it's over X dollars, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think, I can't remember the school board, whether it was 5,000 or some number like that. I can't remember. But yeah, it was a good exercise for me to get my head around. I've looked at them for years, but doing that helped me out, and not suggesting you change it, but I was just, for you guys, that's an interesting exercise to go through, is just to look at the capital over time, because that's the volatile thing. It was the volatile thing with the school. You know, you have a school that has no capital needs and suddenly needs a $200,000 chiller, you know,
Right.
and you've got to balance that against all the other schools and which one needed a new gym floor and that sort of thing. And so it was easy to see in their budget. It's harder to see in this, but it's all in there. You know, it's one of those things where I know you probably all have it in your head, but we only look at it once a year, so we're playing catch up.
And that may be something I'll defer to Angel. That may be something we can look at with this new software.
Yeah, we're getting new software next year for our budget, and it's going to present things in a different way.
Oh,
And
all right.
it should make it so that you can look at things like that if you want to. We can customize it really in any way. So things that you guys want to see, let us know, because we'll have a lot of flexibility in what we can show you next year.
I love that the
Very
tech is
cool.
coming in all these different ways. It's good to see us staying on top of the tech. Next thing you know, we'll have AI everything too, right? Need AI to ask better questions than I do about the budget. Any other questions?
Question for the board. It's, I think we all probably were a little rattled when we saw tax increase. And what I did a real deep dive, as we all did, and kind of saw this budget is lean. It maintains our high level of service to our residents, and it also maintains our commitment to staff. So there's not much to really dig into. But there's two wish list items that we've discussed recently that were added. And it's supplemental mowings 158, the speed monitors. We're asking a lot of our residents with this increase. And theirs are not big ticket items that don't really make that big of an imprint on the big picture of things. But are we willing to discuss reducing that a little bit? And you see how it goes in a year, and then maybe when down the road we have some data on how they've done, maybe expanding or shrinking, or keep it as is. How do y'all feel about it? I mean, those are only kind of like wish list items that we added to this that are beyond the scope of what the town does. And I think we merit a little bit of discussion before we move it forward.
You know, to me, it's the only two things in here that we fully understand because we asked for them.
Yeah.
So it would be kind of, you know, and then when you look at the grand scheme of things, they are small.
Yeah, it's a
They are.
rounding
I mean, we're not avoiding
If we're
a tax
300
increase by eliminating those.
would
I
not
mean, you and I
recommend-
talked about this.
Yeah,
It's
I
not,
would
it's
not
not
recommend that
possible,
you-
right?
it would not change
Right.
the increase.
No,
really.
it wouldn't. It's not. You're talking $110,000 roughly.
I mean, if we had to find $300,000 a cut and to avoid a tax increase, basically, is what you said in this report, $300,000, right?
It's more like
$1 million.
It's more like-
Well, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, a penny is
The penny's 306, so
306.
So three and a half would be $1 million. So that's how much you'd have to find to cut. And I suspect that when I don't know how the process works, but I assume that as departments come to you, they present their budgets to you. You know, they I assume you're discerning and you ask questions and that's what we all. I mean, obviously, we're not here to chip apart what what you do on a daily basis, the process, of course. So that's, I think, obviously we have the utmost trust in you as town manager. So we know that you're asking the questions and you're asking them to cut here, or things that they're coming to you for the departments are necessary. So we trust in that, and then, if you're saying that the cost of, because is there anything you could say like right now and as a whole has caused, is going to cause like any one or two things that really is going to cause us to need this tax increase? Or just really the general increase in everything?
That would be my answer, is basically what we all are seeing in our day-to-day lives and in our budgets at home. Everything that we've purchased, everything that we do is costing us more. And as Commissioner Winley stated about our commitment to our employees, we have outstanding employees, and the board's been very generous in our compensation of those employees, but it's necessary, as we saw with our lifeguards.
Retention is important.
You see it in what the grocery stores, the food chains, they've had to increase their wages for their employees.
Oh, yeah.
So the same thing, $18 an hour, that's our starting lifeguards.
Outside of that, anything unexpected that in your mind that bumped this up a little bit?
Well, it wasn't unexpected,
Right.
but obviously our increase in debt service.
Okay.
When we did the public works complex, we did that in phases, and we're continuing to pay down that debt as we continue to make new improvements in our facilities. There will be increase in debt.
Okay. Makes sense. Because that's, in the end, like, with the limited amount of knowledge we have and resources we have, we're looking to try to understand and obviously be this good stewards of the money for the taxpayers.
Well, and the other thing, Commissioner, that we saw is, you will be adopting the fiscal year 23-24 budget, but also in here is a plan year 24-25. And when we were trying to look at what we were going to recommend you for the upcoming fiscal year, what that was going to mean for the plan year, and we recognized that what we would need from fund balance was more than what we were going to have in fund balance, then we knew that we couldn't present that budget to you in good faith.
Right.
That's untenable. Yeah.
Okay.
I think you said it, you hit it around another way to say what you were saying, I think is that all the costs are going up, but the costs on the costs that are our revenues are not going up at the same rate as the cost that we're paying out. So it's the differential that's causing some of it. Some of it's the capital outlay. Some of it's the fact that we're being aggressive about not losing employees to inflation, right? We're choosing to spend that extra COLA.
Well, you see what they're spending in gas just to get here to work.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Or to live here.
That's come up a couple of times here in this discussion just recently about the cost of government and how much it's increasing to just to operate. My question is this: how comfortable are you with the COLA being realistic? What are some of the other municipalities doing? That's something I want to look at. I want to look at, do we need to do anything in that area?
I think NAG's Head's recommended COLA was the same as ours.
Same as ours, as far as I know, yeah.
Charlene, do you remember the others?
Southern Shores was the same as ours.
I believe Manio's is also now the same.
Yeah.
Close to it.
There's a lot of discussion with that.
Once
That's
again,
where I'm going to be looking.
We do communicate.
Yeah. I think the counties was less, but they just recently did the pay study.
Right, they did the pay study and that enabled them to be able to do that. But, like you said, we've got employees that drive here, and the cost for that is going up too, and just the groceries and stuff like that. So I just want to make sure that we're doing a accurate COLA. You know, that it's somewhere close to what the cost of living actually is, so.
Would you, I'll let you explain how you guys do the formula on
Did you see
the
the
different numbers you
CPI
use?
this month was
So we use the
4%.
CPI. We use the Consumer Price Index, and it changes every month. I haven't seen what this month's is, but using that, we think that we are on par with that.
May was only up 4%. It was the lowest since 2020.
Yeah, it's
or
actually been
something.
going. It's decreasing.
Decreasing,
slightly.
which is
Mhm.
good news.
But it's decreasing for everything but rent and
Right, yeah.
something, there was one other thing.
Then you gotta
Break up the
figure,
categories.
then you gotta figure in
Yeah.
the 18% increase here in this area,
Yeah,
Right.
you know, like,
you know, because cost of living's higher here.
sure.
So,
That's true. Different here.
yeah,
We thank you for the hard work on it and for taking the time to walk us through it patiently. And we'll have a little more time to stew on it and shoot emails around and
Well,
see
thank
if
you for
anything
the,
else
for
comes
the
up.
guidance from the board. And as always, I thank the department heads and their staff and most definitely the finance department. The assistant town manager, she's worked very diligently on this as well. That was an extra bonus that finance got when we stole her from them. She worked with them very closely again this year on it. I appreciate that. So, the plan would be at your next meeting.
mhm,
We'll have the budget ordinances prepared for you to adopt.
correct.
Any changes that you see that you want to discuss between now and then, please do let us know. If not, the budget ordinance that you see here would be what would be presented.
All right.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe that leads us to one motion.
Motion to adjourn.
I hear it. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Thank you.
It's killing me that I have that.